I've known immigrants my entire life. I grew up with immigrants. Immigrants literally voted me into office. So I'm using that as a bit of a disclaimer before I get into the content and the meat of this video, primarily because there's a lot of soft brained people who believe that, that because you have a problem with illegal immigration, or you take issue with people not jumping the line per se, that you have a problem with all immigration, which is just complete nonsense and bunk. All right, so we got this coming to us from New Jersey 101.5. Feds sue over immigrant directive. Gruwall says nothing changes. Of course, this is written by Aaron Voigt. I'm gonna go with Voigt. The G is silent. Two federal lawsuits challenging New Jersey's Immigrant Trust Directive have been bolstered by a new court filing by the U.S. Department of Justice. The department, led by U.S. Attorney General William Barr, filed a brief Friday supporting Cape County and Ocean County's legal challenges to the directive that went into effect in March 2019, after being signed in November 2018. I am deeply disappointed that the Trump administration, the Department of Justice, and U.S. Attorney's Office have suddenly chosen to challenge New Jersey's Immigrant Trust Directive in court over a year after it was issued. Oh my God. Okay, Mr. Grewal, because this is State Attorney General Gruber Grewal said Saturday in a written statement. How are you disappointed when this is what you've been begging for since Murphy when like how do people forget like 4 years ago? Okay, like in 2016 when Trump was getting elected, and in 2021 when Murphy went to get elected, he basically ran against Trump, talking about we're going to be a sanctuary state, and all these other all of the blue TDS that was going on at the time. He just sat there and was like, yeah, we're going to completely open it up, and he appointed AG Grewal, who turned around and pushed that agenda forward. And guess what? It doesn't matter. There's no statute of limitations on this. Why are you disappointed? You should have been expecting and anticipating this, because you flipped off the feds. Bruh, why would you do that? But, no, I'm sorry, because I know the answer to that question. Butthurt. You guys were so damn butthurt about the 2016 election, the blue team, and it's like to this day, people are still just balls deep in their Trump derangement syndrome. That what? I flipped off the feds, and I've decided no state trumps federal law, so I'm gonna go and do my own thing. And what? You didn't expect the feds to come back at you, bruh? This is ridiculous. At a time when we need to be building bridges with our immigrant communities, the federal government is working to push them further into the shadows, Grewal also said. Okay, Grewal, here's the deal. Because immigration's never been a problem for this country. Okay? Like, this country we take in over 1 million people legally every year. We've done so for I think the past 4 or 5 years. So don't sit here and be like, oh yeah, we're building bridges. We're keeping the immigrants in the shadows. No, if you come in the right way, there's no shadow to be in. It's nothing but love. We want you here. I don't even know how to explain how much I enjoy having people of different cultures and different backgrounds around, because, it makes life more interesting. I just made a big purchase on a car. And the guy who sold it to me, he actually voted for me, and he lives in my district. And it was such a conversation of broken English, but at the end of the day, I got a good deal. He got the money, and and we're cool. That's me familiar. I love the guy. So to sit here and say, oh yeah, when our immigrant communities are pushed into the shadows, that's complete bullshit. It really is. We are embracing. We are open towards our immigrant family. We just ask that you do it legally. And what you and your boss decided to do was to thumb your nose at it, and say, "Oh yeah, nah, man. Man, Trump is just so dangerous and so terrible that we're gonna, screw them. We ain't gonna listen. Whatever. I do what I want." And now it comes back. He repeated that the intent of the directive has been to protect public safety by ensuring that victims and witnesses come forward and report crimes to law enforcement without fear of deportation. And deal is that when you're dealing with the local authorities, particularly in spaces like the one I represent in Irvington, New Jersey, which has it's like 90% It's like damn near 90% immigrant. That's not really a problem because the local cops are the local cops, and they know who's there, they know who's supposed to be there and the like. And what I find to happen most often is that like if they do need a translator, they'll use a child or something along those lines, someone who was born here legally, or or they're legal themselves. They just have a little bit of a barrier there. But this is ridiculous that if, oh my goodness, they came and saw a crime or anything else like that, and they're here legally, that they'd have any type of issues with deportation. That problems come in with the illegal aspect of it, which you, sir, as someone who's supposed to uphold the law, I assume the Attorney General is supposed to uphold the law, because yeah, that's like, you guys really came in swinging like, nah, man, screw your laws. Let's give them all driver's licenses and the whole like, bro, what are you doing? Like, seriously. And honestly, they've been far more understanding about the situation than even I would have been, because you're not going to sit there, give me the middle finger, and then expect no kind of kickback, no kind of return. Like right now, there's a lot of people complaining about how how Jersey's getting so little back from Washington. But how can you really be mad at that when Jersey was at the forefront of saying screw Trump and screw his administration? You can't do that. That's not part of the game. Everybody needs to be adults and work towards common goals. And as a land of laws, when the law is broken, penalties need to be exercised if the person's caught. Only if the person's caught. While critics and opponent of the directive has said it provides sanctuary to immigrants who are here illegally, Gruwall said that is simply not the case. Oh, you're so full of shit. They're walking it back. They're trying to walk this back so hard, but I have no intention of letting you walk this back. No, because you did this. You lit this fire. Not particularly you, Gruwall, but your boss did. Murphy, when he came in, we are a sanctuary state. And then you had there was this entire rally that they did in Newark, and it was Newark, Irvington, East Orange, and all of these different elected officials talking about, oh yes, Trump, and he's so evil, he's so bad, and he's such a mean man. It's like, bro, what are you doing? Those the feds, yo. Like, how are y'all just sitting here wilding like this? And then you're upset that we don't get that much money back from Washington. I'm just saying, maybe one thing has to do with the other. Under our Immigrant Trust Directive, if you break the law, you go to jail, regardless of your immigration status. No one, I repeat, no one gets a free pass in the state to commit crime, Gruwall said at a September 2019 news conference. The federal government has every right to keep doing its job, but it has no right to stop our law enforcement officers from doing ours. Bro, whoa, pause. There's so much wrong in that sentence. There's so much wrong in that sentence. Stop our law. Okay, so in case you're unfamiliar, it's local/county law, state law, then federal law. All right? Federal is number one, state and county, then local. But as far as impact on life, it's local, state, federal. Now, federal tries to stay, by all technical means, on paper, federal should try to stay out of the state's way, and the states should try to stay out of the county's way, and like. But the deal is that there is succession there. There are different levels of power, and the federal one trumps both the state and the county one. So if the United States of America, the country as a whole, decides to come at you, then that's what's going to happen. And when it comes to those laws, right? There's a reason right now that there are sheriffs in Virginia who are opposing the red flag laws and the gun control laws, and it's because this country is really founded upon individualism more than anything else. And so, you have the right to take care of yourself. It's enshrined in the Constitution. And unfortunately, that for all the bluster, it does not apply to those here illegally. And you've really just did everything that you can to, make those protections here for them. And it's frustrating for law enforcement, which is why Cape May and Ocean County are suing right now. The federal government's efforts to coerce states into implementing its immigration agenda have failed repeatedly in the past and will respond to their latest efforts in court at the appropriate time. The directive limits voluntary assistance between law enforcement officers and federal immigration authorities, including ICE agents. Among its restrictions, law enforcement can't stop, arrest, question, or search someone only based on immigration status. Law enforcement can't ask for the immigration status of any individual unless it's relevant to the investigation of a serious crime. Law enforcement can't participate in civil immigration enforcement by ICE. Law enforcement can't provide ICE with access to law enforcement resources unless those same resources are generally available to the public. Law enforcement can only allow ICE to interview an individual arrested on a criminal charge once that person is advised of his or her right to a lawyer. Gruwal's office also has pointed out the following. Nothing in the directive limits the ability of law enforcement officers to enforce state criminal law, but you are limiting federal law, my guy. Nothing in the directive that restricts officers from complying with the requirements of federal law. When you're sitting there directing them not to require, oh wow, this is just nothing but a complete like double speak. Nothing in the directive prevents officers from enforcing valid court orders, including search or arrest warrants signed by state or federal judges. Nothing in the directive stops officers from assisting federal immigration authorities in response to exigent circumstances. That's the thing though. Particularly with the bail reform that we have here now, and we have multiple instances of law enforcement, state or local law enforcement releasing individuals that ICE wanted to speak to and wanted to catch up with. And so, yeah, regardless of what you say in this little spiel here, Gruwal, that's not how it's going down. Cape May County officials called the policy a violation of the U.S. Constitution in a federal complaint filed in November 2019. Cape May County Sheriff Robert Nolan said the directive is intentional interference by Gruwal, which Nolan said impedes his ability to do his job and keep county residents safe. Ocean County filed its own federal lawsuit in September 2019, calling the directive unconstitutional, invalid, and unenforceable. That suit against Governor Phil Murphy's administration claims the directive is superseded by federal regulations, as well as the violation of New Jersey's home rule, which permits county and local governments to have control over local needs and functions. So that's the end of the article. And the sheriffs in Cape May are 100% correct. I'm sorry, but federal is on top of state and local. We are the United States for a reason. All right, we haven't been disjointed since the Civil War. So, but your governor ran on a fake mandate of, oh my goodness, everything Trump says is bad, and now you're eating shit for it. So we'll see how this pans out and plays out, but wanted to get a video in. I promise a video every day, guys. Now, I usually do 3 or 4. I can get them knocked out easy. Yesterday was a bit of a really busy day for me, so I only did the one, but it was the one that I promised. So I am a man of my words, and I got more coming up today. There's plenty of nutty shit going on, so we'll get into that later. But that being said, all the internet stuff. If you liked it, toss it a like, dislike, go ahead, do that too. Nobody's scared of you. Sub if you enjoy my fantastic voice and you want to get videos like this every single day. Share because sharing is caring. And YouTube and BitChute and like aren't the biggest fans of you boy over here for very obvious reasons. Bang the bell for notifications and speak. Let me know what do you think in the comments. You do recognize the difference between immigration and illegal immigration, right? That's such a, because they keep saying immigrant, but the problem is that you're missing that illegal word, because when it comes to immigrants, bruh, like they when naturalized or the like, they can vote. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend as if the process to enter the country legally isn't tedious, but 1 million people do it every year. There's absolutely no call for, well, I can understand the personal and impatient call for, skipping line like that, but not, but at the law enforcement level, no, you're there to enforce these laws. You guys are getting paid, and particularly like you, Gruwal, because you're making like well over, like probably like maybe $250,000 a year to ensure that our laws are applied, are applied in a fair manner and in the way that they were intended, But no. Trump's orange man bad, and that orange man bad has them in this situation right here. But you may feel differently. That's why I have a comment section. And until the next one.